Hi, everybody. Jared Petty here for IGN, joined by
Steve Butts.
And we're looking at the teaser trailer for the new Disney's Jungle Book live-action movie. Steve, are you excited about this film?
I wasn't, but I am now. I gotta say, I did not have high hopes for a Jungle Book live-action movie, but having seen this trailer, I am into it.
Yeah, a Jungle Book movie with the guy that did Iron Man, it did not have me at all.
Yeah.
And despite the kind of Hollywood presentation of this trailer, there's so many good moments in it that I've actually found myself really drawn in. I'm seeing a lot of what I want to see from the Jungle Book. Let's break it down and take a look at those parts.
Yeah, well, let's do that. Let's go sort of frame by frame here. At first, we do hear a voice.
Yeah.
It's a voice sort of seemingly reassuring, but also slightly menacing.
Yep.
That is, in fact, Scarlett Johansson as Kaa, which is interesting. Kaa in the books and in the Disney movie on which this is based is a male. So they've changed that around quite a bit, but I think to good effect.
Do you like the voice casting here?
I do like the voice casting here. In fact, every time we see a character, we're going to name an actor that I absolutely love.
Okay.
Who's doing the voice for that? Starting off with Scarlett Johansson. The one person that we don't know anything about going into this is Man Cub.
Right.
This is Mowgli, played by Neil Seethy. He's a relative newcomer. But I got to ask you, are you a Mowgli or a Mowgli?
Okay, so I didn't know the difference until you brought it up to me.
Right.
I grew up on the Disney films. I thought it was Mowgli, Mowgli, Mowgli because I'd seen the Disney thing. I'd read the Jungle Book, of course, Kipling's story, but I didn't spell it out in my head, didn't know how it was pronounced. Then you revealed to me just today that...
Yeah, it was intended, at least by Kipling, it's a made-up word. It was intended by him to rhyme with cow.
Okay.
So he wrote for one of the editions a big list of here's how you say all these crazy made-up names. Some of them obviously come from Hindustani, but he did make up a lot of names. And one of them was Mowgli.
Okay.
And his widow apparently was very mad at Walt Disney for calling the character Mowgli, because that's the way everybody says it now.
Well, I'm going to say Mowgli because I love Kipling. So there we are. So we're going to go on with Mowgli for this one. And if we slip back into Mowgli, please forgive us.
Absolutely. So we see Mowgli there, and then up on top of the rock, this is the big villain of the series, Shere Khan.
I love Shere Khan. He's actually a very sympathetic villain in a lot of ways. According to the way he sees the world and the law of the jungle, he's the apex predator. He's the worthy ruler. Man has no place in this world, and he wants him out there. I actually really liked Shere Khan in the old movies and kind of wished he would eat Mowgli. I like the way he looks here. Here we have a CG. You know, this is, and I think it looks pretty good.
I think it looks great. I would also mention Shere Khan in the books has been damaged by man. He's been scarred, and so he has like a legitimate grudge against man in this. You mentioned he's sort of at the top. Shere Khan in some Indian dialects just means chief tiger, right? Yeah. So that's one of the cases where Kipling just took a term and applied it to a character in a very sort of literal way.
Makes a lot of sense.
Makes a lot of sense. Pirates of the Caribbean, great, obviously.
Oh, and here we go. Two friends really side by side.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're assuming this is Baloo and Bagheera, like all evidence points to that. Sort of the two buddies who take it upon themselves to protect Mowgli as he makes his way through the jungle. But what are they looking at here in the distance?
Well, we see fire off in the distance, and fire plays a huge part in the story of the Jungle Book. The red flower, this is man's one weapon against the creatures of the jungle, the one advantage and the one thing that Shere Khan fears. And these two friends here looking off at that. Also good to know, we kind of the straight man and the humorist in the original story. Now this has a kind of a darker tone. This doesn't look like a lighthearted musical in a lot of ways. So I'm wondering how this relationship is going to work between these two characters in this film.
Yeah, Phil Harris in the Disney version, I mean, just played it so broadly to such great comedic effect. Bill Murray is playing that same character in this remake, which I think is fantastic. Bagheera, the character on the right there, played by Ben Kingsley. So, I mean, seeing those two guys in sort of a straight man, funny man situation, I think would work very well.
I think it will too. I don't think it's as likely we're going to see them singing and dancing, but I do think we're getting a lot of witty banter off each other here.
Right.
I really like the shot because of that. And once again, moving ahead here a little bit,
yeah,
that instrumental red flower, that one weapon against the otherwise unstoppable natural force that is Shere Khan.
Absolutely, yeah, and that sort of drives the whole story. That's the one thing Shere Khan wants to get rid of, and the one thing that King Louie wants. Here we see perhaps the first meeting between Bagheera,
I think so,
whose name in Hindustani just means panther, so that's another case of just straight up literal naming by Rudyard Kipling. Meeting Mowgli for the very first time.
Really, really cool. Look at here. Oh, look at that. And moving ahead, there we have, we've got monkeys climbing cliff. Monkeys, an important part with the original Jungle Book anthology stories and also the Disney movie. And if you look carefully center of the shot, you can see Mowgli clinging to the back of one of the monkeys here. Now, the monkeys in the original story, kind of a force of chaos, but under King Louie in the Disney movie, more organized. We'll get to King Louie in a second here. And since we're seeing Louie in this, I'm guessing that the monkeys are going to be kind of another foil for the quest of our main characters.
Absolutely, and we're not quite sure if he's being rescued or kidnapped.
Yeah,
in
maybe
this
a little
context.
of both.
Maybe a little bit of both. And there, again, we see Baloo, voiced by the fantastic Bill Murray. Baloo, my favorite character in the entire story.
Baloo's a great character. He's wonderful.
I will say, looking at this, it's not a very colorful movie.
No, it's not, but I think that might work with the CG. Frankly, bright colors can sometimes be unkind to CG, making it look shiny and fake. I think choosing a darker color palette. Also, the jungle is a dark, menacing place when you think about it. There's a lot of undergrowth and shadow there, and I think that works works for what you're going to be seeing here thematically for the film. Also, it's going to give good contrast for the fire, and I really do think it's going to work well with the animal fur.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't imagine that you're wrong about that. Here we see, these are some of your favorite characters, Colonel Huddy and the elephants.
Yeah, okay, so I love Huddy. He gets a kind of a comic take in the movie, but in the books, the elephants are sort of the symbol of ancestral law in the jungle. They are the keepers of the memory of the culture that exists there. And looking here, it's harder to think of them as comical here. You look at these imposing elephants are some of my very favorite creatures in the world. And these guys look wonderful. So I'm hoping Huddy gets a kind of a better treatment this time around. I'd really like to see that more dignified and fascinating look at the animal kingdom that goes on inside.
Yeah, and that's one actor, or that's one role that's not been cast, at least so far as we know.
Yeah.
We don't know who will be providing the voice of the lead elephant, if there even is that character in this adaptation. But we move from this to a character that was invented for the Disney movie.
Right.
That is absolutely here, King Louie.
Yeah, King Louie the orangutan, which is odd because, well, orangutans actually aren't from India, but, you know, they're also really cool looking, so they're in the movie anyway. And I look at that. He looks, so this is Christopher Walken doing this voice here. He looks positively menacing in the shot, which is odd because Louie is the most comical character of the original Jungle Book, even more so than Baloo, I think, hands down. And yet here he looks kind of frightening.
Yeah, and we'll get back to this in just a minute. You know, Louie obviously wants the red flower. You see other artifacts of man's civilization around him. He's got the little pots and everything. But that arm looks a little bit out of scale. We're going to see more about that in a bit. King Louie may not be just a regular orangutan.
No, maybe not. We may have kaiju orangutan going on.
I will mention this movie shot entirely on a soundstage down in LA. Lots of green screen effects, lots of practical effects. There's a lot going on under the hood here from a standpoint of movie making.
And if I had not read that, I don't think I'd know that from this trailer, honestly. It appears, at least from the selective shots we've seen here, really well done. I thought this kid was running around outside in a jungle.
Yeah.
It's really well masked.
Absolutely. And even the animal animations are great here. I mean, you see this great fight between Bagheera and Shere Khan.
Yeah.
And just, it looks very credible to me.
It does, absolutely. I have no trouble believing this is real. You know, some of that is the sense of motion they use. Also, I love the scale here. You think, oh, you know, Mowgli's being protected by a panther. He's fine. Look at, tigers grow to be 10 feet long. Look at the size of that thing. Yeah. I just love the scale.
And I like that it's maybe from Mowgli's perspective.
Yeah.
You know, like you see both these figures are above his eye line.
Yeah.
So he is super helpless in this situation. And just hoping that Bagheera pulls it out.
Yeah, and doesn't look like that's what's going to happen here at all as we move forward a little. Kaboom! No, that didn't work out well.
There's Mowgli running, jumping into a ravine. We'll see a little follow-up on that scene later. But here we finally get to see Kaa, another one of the great villains from the story.
Absolutely, and here he's gazing right into Mowgli's eyes.
She's gazing.
Oh, that's right. Now, first, you told a neat story about the Kaa's name, and I love this. Can you share this?
Yeah, so this is one of those onomatopoetic things that Kipling put in. He said that he named Kaa based on the sound that a snake makes when it hisses with an open mouth. So sort of the sound.
I love that. This is fantastic. But looking right in the eyes, hypnotic gaze, that was a big part of the cartoon. Is that going to be part of it here? Also, again, we don't see all of Kaa's body. This is an immense rock python.
Right.
And you were pointing out the original Jungle Book cartoon in another conversation we had a while ago that you never see all of Kaa at once, really?
Yeah, I think there's maybe one shot where he's in like an accordion shape where you see the head and tail together. But you never see all of Kaa's body, except for in those very rarest of circumstances. One thing I really like about this, though, is the anthropomorphized mouth. I normally hate it when animals talk, but I think they really nailed it here. Now, granted, we saw a second of it, and we only see it from this character's point of view, but I feel like it works really well for me.
No, it worked really well. They're seeing the mouth move. I wonder how that's going to play out for the rest of the film.
Absolutely. So we see here the incredible cast list. We mentioned Idris Elba as Shere Khan. One name that we haven't talked about, Lupita Nyong'o, who plays Mowgli's pack mother.
Yeah, she's Raksha, which is the wolf mother that adopts him. Also, we know that Akela is apparently cast for this movie, according to IMDb at least, which is the wolf father, the pack leader. And Akela is going to be played by Giancarlo Esposito, according to this, but he doesn't appear up here. I'm not sure what that's about. So
Maybe he has a smaller role in the movie.
Maybe.
So we see here just some more fantastic action scenes.
Oh,
and here's more of what's going on at that temple. The monkeys now fighting against Bagheera and Baloo as they ostensibly try to rescue.
Yeah,
them.
we figured there's a story where where these two actually in the original Jungle Book stories, along with Kaa, come and try to rescue Mowgli from the monkeys. Wondering if we're seeing something similar played out here. And look, Bill Murray's bear stands up and suddenly goes from being kind of comical to a little bit menacing. It is, after all, a giant, omnivorous creature that can devour you, and looking a little frightening here.
Yeah, I love the little Zerg Rush monkeys too. I think that's a really great effect.
That's really cool.
We see here another bit of that.
Okay, this is weird.
So yeah, this is where I think we can really get a sense of the scale of King Louie here. If that human temple is intended to be a place that people inhabit, he's way too big.
Yeah, that's
he's
a giant orangutan. And we move ahead. We see that there's another shot here a little farther on that reveals even more of that. But I kind of get the idea that it's like the Zoolander thing, maybe. What is this? A temple for ants? He's colossally comically large, and I'm not sure what's going on there. It's a plot point that's simply unrevealed. But that is not any ordinary orangutan.
Yeah, I mean, it could be mystical or scientific in origin, or it could just be a psychological effect. I mean, it could be that, this is just how Mowgli sees it. But yeah, it's a really interesting mystery. We move from here to, here's the follow-up on that scene where Mowgli jumps into the ravine. There's Shere Khan. Mowgli jumps on this wildebeest to ride them away in the stampede, which is a really cool effect. And then I love this flash of fire against Shere Khan. Really like the two sort of driving elements of the movie, like Shere Khan's hatred and his fear of fire.
All side by side there. I cannot wait to hear Idris Elba's voice coming out of that angry face there. I think it's inspired casting.
Absolutely. Here we see just more general action.
And that there is
giant
again.
Monkey. Look at this.
Okay, yeah. Colossal kaiju monkey, huge. Going back to it, temple for ants. Not sure what's happening here, but that ain't natural.
Yeah, that's a little crazy.
You can also see the stone cracking. He's knocking the temple down.
I'm very excited, and we have one little nod here to the 1967 Disney version as Baloo and Mowgli float away on the river.
Which is really cute and very touching. And overall, again, so we see lots of bump moments here. But looking at it scene by scene, what I'm seeing are beautiful, beloved, iconic moments from a touching story sewn together into a trailer that's meant to get us worked up, but that actually reveals a movie that looks to me like it's going to be pretty true to the source material, and I think maybe looks like it's going pretty good.
Yeah, and it's a nice, just thematically, it's a nice way to end the trailer. It's been so dark and there's so much action, and here's this nice peaceful moment and this callback to like this really sweet memory that you might have had if you watched the Disney version of the Jungle Book when you were growing up. Movie's due out April 15th of next year. It is not, strangely, the only Jungle Book movie that's being worked on right now.
And that's odd.
Yeah,
that is really, we have like an Armageddon Deep Impact situation with anthropomorphic animals in the jungle.
Yeah,
that's really strange.
So Andy Serkis is making his own version called Jungle Book Origins, which is a strange name, maybe suggesting that it's going back to the books as the primary source rather than the movies. But Serkis will be playing Baloo in that. Benedict Cumberbatch is Shere Khan, which is a great casting choice. Christian Bale is Bagheera, which sounds interesting. And another female Kaa, Kate Blanchett, will be voicing the snake in Andy Serkis' version.
I don't know if we're just imprinting some Garden of Eden stuff here and a little Pandora's boxing getting mixed up or what. But it really is fantastic. Any word on Ricky Tikki Tavi? That's what I want.
But that'll be next for me. That's
All right,
the next one I want.
Me too. Steve, thank you so much. Guys, we want to know what you think. Are you excited about this movie? What do you think of what you saw here today? Let us know in the comments. And thank you so very much for watching. Steve, also thank you so much for putting this thing together. Guys, for everything anthropomorphic bears, fire-fearing tigers, and women snakes in the jungle, where do these people need to go, Steve?
Why, they're already there, Jared. IGN.
Bye-bye.